So I want to continue our conceptual lesson about evocation. So last class, yesterday, I gave you each film titles in pairs, and I asked you to develop ideas about the kind of film this title evoked for you. What kind of movie do you think this is? What is the atmosphere, the theme, the genre? Is it a classic or contemporary film? Is it mainstream or sort of independent or artistic? Maybe other things like who stars in it, wherever your imagination took you. So I talked to some of you yesterday as you were developing these ideas. They were really cool.
Really?
But yeah, briefly, can one person from each pair tell the class about your film? So Helen and Tiana, let's start with you. Your title was Oil.
Oil.
Alright, what kind of movie is Oil? Help us picture it.
It is a comedy.
A comedy.
Yeah, and its atmosphere should be chaotic and abstract.
Chaotic and absurd. I like it. Good word use. Okay. What's it about?
The theme is about a really. You go.
Alright, Tiana.
It might be a little bit connect to sci-fi, maybe like, so the background is like, the fossil fuel of the world is like, in shortage, and there is the last ton of oil left in the world, and then like each country is like searching for the oil and like appealing the public to look for the last ton of the oil, and like so the main character of this film is a people maybe with like
really selfish.
Yeah, a selfish people, and with some like just experience some failures, maybe yeah, and with some and also sadness kind of thing, and then he received the information, or like he knows something about the last ton of the oil, and is eager to look for it because he is selfish, and like if he find the last ton of the oil, and he can get something like, and and like on the road, on the way he looking for the oil, like he
There's a lot of story that happens, and he finds himself because he was a poor people living like at the bottom of the society without money, and he's selfish. He wants to do everything for himself, and also finding the oil is for himself too. But on the road, he finds out he's actually not looking for that ton of oil, but actually himself.
Okay, so this is a combination of different things. So we have a comedy, we have this flawed sort of bad protagonist who's selfish. This is classic in a comedy, so kind of dark. There's a social situation, almost like a dystopian future. But then, all right, it becomes a road movie, actually, which is another genre, often mixed with comedy. Right? He goes on the journey, has many like little vignettes, like little small stories, little interactions with different people, and it becomes a journey of self-discovery. Okay. Is there an ultimate kind of social message in this film?
We want to review the life situation of this kind of people who are selfish and without any ambition, but finally he can finds out himself.
Like someone on the road finding the oil, like someone maybe appeared to like help him, or like somehow changed him.
So it's like an inspirational film, ultimately. I like it. Joey and Daisy.
We chose Hotel Amnesia.
Hotel Amnesia. So I heard this one may take a while because you guys imagined many different versions of this film from different genres. Daisy, can I actually have you choose? Which one do you want to tell us about? Just choose one from one of the genres.
Choose one. Then I'll probably choose a family drama.
Family drama.
Yeah, sort of family drama. If we define amnesia as a disease which makes the patient gradually forget about daily details and important events, then and also it is a disease that is like normal in the elderly population. So this family drama will have the protagonist of an old person in this family, and then its theme should be about family bonding and how the entire family works to care for the old person. Its atmosphere would be realistic and a little depressive.
Okay.
Because this is a heavy topic, and also when people start talking about like old members in their family, they always get a little bit like it is hard to establish a communication and so maybe this but ultimately this theme should be warm and loving, because it would reflect different ways that young people respond and understand old members in their family, but they ultimately ultimately loving towards their towards these old people.
So who's the protagonist?
The protagonist would be the old person in this family.
So it's sort of from their POV.
Yeah, but also there would be other like main characters who are also members of this family, and also other old people who are in this hotel, and maybe the managers and the staff that work in this hotel.
So it's a kind of an ensemble drama. So we feel some empathy for all of these different characters, but with a realistic edge. It's sort of reflecting some contemporary or universal sort of social themes. So would this be set in China?
It could be.
Do you think it would potentially be popular overseas?
I think so, because there is an international focus on old timers, or and also like old people that are like gradually marginalized from the society, from modern society.
Yeah, I think so. All right, Chian and Thomas, I'm interested. Did you also choose Hotel Amnesia?
No, we chose the movie title of the
Unreasonable
Truth of Butterflies.
Unreasonable Truth of Butterflies.
Yes.
All right, so I was interested in this because you had a lot of conversation about how symbolic versus literal this title would be. What you actually came up with is quite interesting, quite a unique film concept, not quite like anything I've ever seen before.
Oh, really?
Can you tell me about it? Or tell us about it?
So it was like 3 episodes of the whole movie. So the first episode is when there's a scientist investigating the butterflies, finding out science facts about the butterflies. But then he found out that the butterflies is actually some symbol, a kind of a god that an ancient civilization worshipped. And ancient civilization was not here, and they are now underground, but they're still living underground.
Yeah.
And they are now in control of weapons, of technology in a much higher level than human. So and the way they attack and their weapons are in shape of the butterflies. And the butterflies in above the earth is actually the spies of this ancient civilization spying on human society.
Right, so the butterflies have sentience. They can understand things and transmit information.
Well, because they are in worship of the butterflies, and so they deliberately made the butterflies to come back to come up to the earth
Right.
and they can read the butterfly's thoughts and maybe they have a communication.
They can, they have a
Yeah.
psychic communication with
Yeah,
the
and
butterflies.
butterflies can be a way of some communicating with each other. So they're maybe called a butterfly civilization. I don't know. And then.
So they communicate exclusively through butterflies.
And then the researcher found out that the ancient civilization is going to come out of underground and go back to the earth to invade the human world and to fight against human. And the scientists leaves human species to develop new weapons to fight against the butterfly civilization. And the third episode. And
Okay. What is the genre?
science fiction.
Science fiction. Okay. What is it? Science fiction. Science fiction action.
Yeah.
So it's mainly mainly based around these sort of action sequences. The rest of the plot that you're discussing is kind of leading up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there may be like massive scenes of fights against each other, like huge weapons.
Okay. Yeah, I can picture it. Although it's weird that you got to this massive action film from the title "The Unreasonable Truth of Butterflies," which is not what it evokes for me. And I think if I was a marketing guy and I was like trying to sell this Transformers style action movie, I wouldn't say we're gonna call it "The Unreasonable Truth of Butterflies."
Well, but the truth itself is, the underground ancient civilization, and it is unreasonable in some ways. And there's 2 more episodes of this movie.
Okay, so this is a series again, kind of like Transformers or like something else, right?
But the other 2 episodes may talk about different stories. Do you want to hear about them?
Oh, maybe later, because we don't have enough time, but I want to know about this movie, right? Theme, what is the theme? Is it about something, or is it more just a kind of blockbuster entertaining thing?
Both entertaining, but it's maybe about conflict of races.
Really?
Yeah, because here I'm talking about the other 2 episodes.
Okay, no, I missed it. But are you saying, is it an allegory? Like the butterfly, so kind of like Star Trek and other things like that were originally allegories for like geopolitical conflicts between different races in different countries. Is it kind of like that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's kind of cool. All right, I want to hear more later, but I want to hear from everybody. So Gavin and Rain, which one did you go for? Hiroshima Mon Amour. Yes.
It's always a story about a Japanese French
A Japanese friend.
who got his hometown bombed during World War II.
Okay.
So basically, it's a Japanese, but he immigrated to France and lived there and had friends as his nationality. But then World War II broke out, and they are unfortunately on the opposite sides of the war. And so he has to suppress his either patriotism or nostalgia in his mind because he would naturally be discriminated as a Japanese in France because they're on opposite sides. Even though this is a little weird because there isn't, I don't think that there are direct conflicts between France and Japanese during World War II.
Right,
but,
not directly.
Yeah, but either ways they're on different sides. So he has to suppress his identity. He has to suppress his feelings, but then again, it has to be exposed because he looks like a Japanese.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so the entire mood atmosphere is sort of melancholy and depressing. And it is a literary film.
It's a literary film.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, it says that when Yipian is literary film. Basically the kind of films where they have like delicate compositions of the frames and I don't know, like silence.
Yes.
Just like
That's
very
kind of-
emotional frames.
That
Yeah.
I mentioned yesterday as for intellectual but unsentimental.
Yeah. So you mentioned the movie Atonement, which is a literary adaptation as kind of an example of this kind of thing. So yeah, we could also call these art movies. But yeah, so that, yeah, like you say, Long Silences. When is it set? Is it during the war? Is it 1960s? Is it later?
Yeah,
It's of course later because the bombing in Hiroshima is probably the end of the war.
Say different things. End of the war?
well, it's a long progress. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
necessarily starts from the end of the war. It
Okay.
starts from the start of the war, but the climax is when Hiroshima is bombed.
I see. So are you're saying there might be a non-linear narrative?
最现实的事实不是一直不是很好。
Going like those flashbacks, yeah, probably.
Because if the climax is when Hiroshima was bombed, that's still during the war. That's 1945.
Yeah.
up to that, or
Yeah.
okay.
Leading up to that, maybe with flashbacks of his hometown life, that his memories of his hometown.
But I think probably would make it more nostalgic if like if the story happens in like 1960s and when it starts to like recall the experience during the war.
Could be like that. So the central conflict is around sort of his identity,
Yeah.
his struggle. What actually happens in the film? Like, is it mostly like mood and flashbacks? Is there a romance?
Maybe not romance, maybe discrimination.
Uh,
Yeah, and basically how he lives his life in France, where everyone has a negative view of his due to his appearance as a Japanese, and
And you sort of
how he
into
copes
conflict
with.
because France is kind of his like second hometown, but to Japan is like this, where he came from. So.
yeah. So maybe, yeah, like he has a love for France as well, but even though he doesn't quite fit in, but he feels the nostalgia, the homesickness.
Or maybe he marries a Frenchman, but like he thinks his hometown is like kind of his lover as well.
I like it, I like it. So yeah, that's kind of a bleak film, very artistic. This is exactly what I figured the title would evoke. Let's see, Lane and Blanche.
So we chose the title Hotel Amnesia.
Hotel Amnesia,
and
yeah.
we constructed a suspense film based on this title.
All right, excellent.
So first, an adventurer, he goes into the desert and he finds a piece of oasis, and there's a hotel there, and that seems very glamorous, magnificent on the outside. So he goes inside, but he finds out that people here so first he thinks this is a place for enjoyment, like there's many like drinks and stuff, but then he finds out that people there, for example, a general who is wounded, but he wants to get back to the war, but he's actually excluded from the army, and he's resting here, but he dreams of having an army again, so he's living his fantasy there. Like there's an actual, not actual, there's an illusion of a battlefield for him, and so that's why he can't get out of this hotel. And many people here have similar experience. And for example, a father who has his responsibility to take care of his family, but he's overwhelmed by his responsibility, so he's staying there regardless of what's happening outside. But what actually happens outside is disastrous or heartbreaking. But the people there, they seem to literally forget about these things and choose to live in their fantasy. So the adventurer, he wants to save all these people from the hotel. He tries to persuade them, and in all the way he encounters different people. He tries to evoke their emotions and talks about their experience. But he himself becomes immersed in this hotel for his own reason, which is later exposed in the movie. And the ending. So the ending is about like the owner of the hotel. He comes out and the adventurer and him have a talk. And it turns out that the owner wants to construct a fantastic world for everyone, but it ends up not so well because those people can't get back to reality, and the ending just hangs there. And so it's a suspense film, and the first part should be all tensions and mysteries, like why do these people keep staying here?
Yeah.
And the theme maybe it should be about like a deep part of human nature that choose to forget what is unpleasant to remember.
This sounds pretty deep. So you mentioned, yeah, suspense film, but it seems to have elements sort of sci-fi, right? Or like fantasy, because you're talking about kind of a disastrous situation in the world outside, and this sort of place that people go and have these strange psychological projections. Seems kind of philosophical
Yes.
as well. Yeah. So what are some movies that maybe you think might have a similar atmosphere to this? To kind of like, if you're trying to pitch this movie to me, I'm a producer. You're trying to give me a frame of reference to understand like what it feels like to watch this movie.
Well, I would say like it's pretty dramatic, and the narrative may be similar to that of Hitchcock's films, but the core of it and atmosphere may be a little bit artistic, like New Wave films, 1960s.
Yeah. It also reminds me there's a Russian director named Tarkovsky. And he makes some movies like this that kind of combine like sci-fi or suspense elements with really like meditative, philosophical, strange atmospheres. movies like Solaris and Stalker. Although these are very sort of art films, hard to access.
Oh, sorry.
Well, there's a newer version of Solaris also with George Clooney, but this is an older one from yeah, but I don't know, Elaine, do you think this would be a commercially viable movie? Do you think we could send it to the box office and win some awards, or do you think it to be too artistic, too strange?
I think it will, because I think it still appeals to like some of the thinking of like the profound significance in society. Because like people, I think most of the people will be interested in like these sort of topics and such like psychological thinkings.
You could make it, yeah, reflect certain contemporary issues, right? Like we have post-trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, or you're kind of living in this world of flashbacks anyway, so it could be kind of that, and then that being an allegory, but then happening at the same time as family drama and stuff around that. It reminds me like also of the show Lost, which is like a bunch of different characters who wind up stuck on an island. But then you find out kind of their backstories and like strange events in their lives that maybe led them up to this point that they're still trying to grapple with.
All right. Wide array, including some very different stuff from the same title. Follow up. I'd like us to do the same thing, but with poem titles. So each of these are the titles of real poems. None of these are made up. Some of these are fairly famous. So based on the titles, I would like us to imagine, right? What is the poem about? Its topic, its theme. Will it have a narrative or no? Who is the speaker? What's the form and style? What's the tone? High level or accessible language? Will it use a lot of metaphor or symbolism? So, lots of questions, but I think as with our film title activity, you will get to the answers very intuitively. They will naturally evoke something. You will picture it in your mind. All right, let's think about the title, Toads. All right, take 1 minute, discuss with your same partner. What is this poem?
I think this whole because like
Okay, go now. What is it?
Lots
I think it's going to be a lot on the model here.
I think there's gonna be a lot of use of
You guys are still gonna do the projection of your voice.
Yeah, so I believe, because essentially kind of animals,
Yes.
so maybe
Don't look what are you looking at? Oh, the sounds? I should have some toad sound effects.
the beaks of the eagle.
Alright, toads. Gavin and Rain, what kind of poem is this? What's it about? Does it have a narrative or no?
Yeah, it does have a narrative.
It does have a narrative, okay.
There's lots of cacophonies in this poem.
Why?
Sort of whimsical, because toads make weird sounds.
The form of the poem will imitate the sounds that the toads make, so a kind of a cacophony. I like it. Okay.
Very think the pronunciation of the poem. This word itself is weird.
You say whimsical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is kind of a whimsical thing, right, for the form to mirror the sounds. Yeah, and toads could be a kind of whimsical topic. Like they pop up in children's literature and storybooks. Frog and toad, exactly. All right, so
Joey and Daisy, who is the speaker?
It might be someone who has a feeling, like the toad can be a symbolism for something, some quality. So the speaker can be someone who is seeking for something that he finds in toads. And the toads can also be, like, it's a usually disgusting figure. So it can be some queer comparison to some people or something. So the speaker should be a human being and should be a rational human being, but maybe have some trouble in life, or he is seeking for something, he lack of something.
Could this match with the kind of poem that Rain and Gavin were describing, do you think? It's kind of whimsical.
Not quite.
Maybe not quite. Maybe it's possible though.
Yeah, possible.
So we have metaphor. How about the language in these poems? Do you think it would be very low level? Do you think there'd be some complex words? Helen, Tiana, what do we think? Yeah. How about the word choice and things like that? Would it be childlike, or would there be some sort of intellectual elements, like Joey said, as far as the speaker and their perspective?
I think the word choice can be childish, but it also can contain some like deeper implication.
Maybe complex emotion.
Complex imagery. So not the language could be accessible, but then the actual imagery and the meaning could have maybe some complex layers. Yeah, I like it. All right, here's what I would like you guys to do. I'm gonna switch up partners. So everybody stand up. Thomas and Gavin switch places. Rain and Elaine switch places. Joey and Helen switch places. All right. With your new partner, choose one of these titles. Again, take 1 minute. Tell us what this poem is, just as we did with toads. You choose. So I'll send this to you. All right. So this is the complete list. As long as everyone can see this, you're choosing one.
About 30%. That's not good.
Seriously?
Can you see okay?
Yes.
Of worshipping the religious.
Too nasty.
Church element of the Roman leaders. Maybe it's a poem about some
I knew Thomas would want this title. I knew it. Yeah.
yeah.
You'll do some political allegory. I think. This sailing to Byzantium, this ancient city.
Yeah, religions and
You can connect this to the butterflies in some way.
Yeah.
Use butterfly imagery.
So when he is studying, he discovered butterflies coming out of the river. The butterflies running him like creating a holy atmosphere.
Motility.
Lord of the butterflies.
If you can use this phrase in a poem, actually, if you can take a lot of very scientific words like this and use them in a poem, in a kind of
It was like the journey to the west, the same.
metaphorical way, I would be impressed. I think that could be kind of cool.
The journey to the west.
What if you chose toads and then you did one like from the POV of like a scientist, and you're just describing like the life force or the things that brought the toad into being, stuff like that, analyzing it at a cellular level. And that was the poem. It's reflecting on the strange matter that just makes
He was
sense.
coming to a mass in the church in the Bible. So you have room. Or the
Toad could be just anything, right? Because I guess with toads, we always think of the life of going from a tadpole to that thing, in between, and then to a toad or to a fish. Getting before the tadpole is this little toad that looks like a
然后像那个历史，你看到 butter，然后想到了
development.
对，然后还有另外一种可以想象的，就是说 butter 它是一种加在油上的这么一个 message。
I want you to write one about butter. I want it to be all about things you can make. And I want the poem to make us very hungry. So I feel like this fits into the holiday season very well. Just like put a lot of very vivid imagery of the cakes and stuff like that. Yeah. This is my idea. This is my desire. Day-to-day stuff.
就这种世界特才高。
What did we
有没有可
choose?
能是不是像
Still
就
thinking?
是像我们那个 reader 在这个在这个家庭里面，
Butter Fury.
他的爸爸妈妈
Song of myself.
然后
I
他
think,
就是
yeah,
像一个
I would like you to choose this one.
哦，
像 butter 一样，像
这个是稿费机，我跟你说。
butter 吧。
像一个润滑剂一样，跟他们两个一起。
Okay, I want to hear. What's one poem you imagine
可以，
from
可以。
these titles?
但是我们是吃的。
Ah, okay, stop. I want to hear. All right, Blanche and Rain, what did you choose?
Oh, Mr. Later, we are still.
You haven't chose.
No, we chose it. We chose Lady Lazarus, but we were looking up with the meaning for Lazarus and its connections to Lazarus.
Okay, just don't look up the actual poem.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, you shouldn't look anything up. I should just say whatever this evokes, whatever it suggests for you, without looking something up. You can say. Yeah. I'll come back to you in a minute. All right, Elaine and Thomas.
Okay, so we show the poem 70 by 70.
Very good.
It's a narrative poem about the story of a people. Maybe it's a priest or it's a religiously deep into religious person who worships the gods, the churches of Byzantium, and wants to visit the cities, the churches in Byzantium to receive a mass, maybe.
Okay, what's the form? What's the tone?
So it is lyrical, as high-level words are used.
Yes.
And then maybe its theme is about some upbringing in the minds, the spirit of people, of becoming a more holy figure, a holy existence.
So very sort of high level, conceptual themes. Yeah, I like it. Very poetic. Okay. Helen and Daisy, you chose Song of Myself?
Yeah.
All right, what kind of poem is this? What do you imagine?
We think it's a reflection of the type of social norm of a type of people in the society that share similar qualities with the speaker or the speaker in his own view. So by reflecting his own image or figure, or maybe incorporating a little like slight mockery of himself, the speaker would be able to depict a typical qualities of people in the society that he observes. And
So the content is describing him in other people, but in doing so describing himself, or vice versa?
he depicts himself, but then implies a generalization that could be also a depiction of other people.
So is this the speaker really like the author, or is the author taking on a persona?
Maybe the speaker is not what the author truly thinks of himself.
I like it. So it sounds like maybe some social commentary. What's the tone? Would that be like a little bit ironic? Would
A
that be-
little bit satirical.
Yeah,
Um,
I like it. How about the form?
form.
Yeah, would it be rhyming, not rhyming, metered, not metered?
Why me?
Because it's
Yeah, so it would need to be like a song. Yeah. Joey and Tiana. Butter. Okay. Good. What kind of poem is it?
We have 3 interpretations.
Why do you always have so many?
So the first one can be a family memory.
Okay.
Sort of like conscious flow of consciousness.
Yeah, like stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, stream.
No, it's good, it's good.
So when you
Same
see
idea.
when you see a piece of butter, then you think of your childhood memories of eating butter with your family, and how
Just
much.
eating sticks of butter.
Oh,
I've seen Tiana do this in class.
Like you know, like use butter with bread, with cake,
Yeah.
that sort of things. So family memories and related to some family activities together,
Yeah.
from seeing a butter to that, all kinds of stories.
Okay.
So this is the first one, and the second one
So
is.
this could be like a long poem where it's going back into like a stream of consciousness and all kinds of family memories and stuff.
Yeah, kind of. And the second one, it can be like what you said, full of foods,
Yeah.
bakeries, breads and cakes, which make people hungry when reading.
So imagery and sensory language
Yes.
make me smell the butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another is like, it might also can be a like retrospect of the childhood of the family by seeing the butter. However, like the narrator had a maybe a unhappy family, and like the mother and father always like quarrels, and the narrator himself acts like a role of butter, maybe like always reconcile between. Yeah, and make something about like maybe like dissuade.
Like smooths things out,
Yeah.
makes things like butter.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, something about that.
So we might have like an extended metaphor. I like that kind of thing. So what would the form of that one be, do you think? Would that be like very modernist and experimental and formless, or would it be like traditional metered rhyming?
I don't know, but I think.
I think the meter can alternate for example, like I make tetrameter and I make pentameter, alternating each line. So which may symbolize maybe like the father, when describing the father is tetrameter and when describing the mother is pentameter, and that never meets. So kind of in accordance. Not accordance. Inconsistent.
Yeah, I'm trying to, well, yeah. What do we call it? Discordance.
Oh, discordance. So inconsistence within the family.
Yeah, I like that idea. Okay, very quickly. You guys in the back.
We also have several interpretations.
Oh my god. Which one did you choose?
The butter period.
Butter?
We think the poem contains only one line, and that is butter and period. Because the title is so unimaginative, so we have to do it in the most unimaginative way to make it imaginative.
So this is very conceptual. This is like very modernist or sort of postmodernist. Or you could make the poem like in the shape of a stick of butter, in the way that you're just like butter repeated, but then in the shape. And then it's kind of spread when it gets lower on the page. What's your other interpretation?
Perhaps the butter can symbolize some like industrialization of like the butter, like the industry. And probably it will present like some sort of commentaries and some thoughts of the future.
Yeah. Okay. So social commentary on the butter industry. That sounds kind of like a early 20th century sort of thing, like a little bit political and sort of commenting on.
Or the butter can just represent some day-to-day troubles and like some like stories in a family or something.
Yeah, this is domestic connections. This is the running theme. Okay, Lady Lazarus, real quick, so you guys can go to lunch.
A satirical poem that depicts a lady who names herself Lazarus and tries to live a poor person's life because she believes that if she does so, then she will go to heaven like the Lazarus in the Bible.
Wow, I like it. Okay.
But it's satirical because the lady is just pretending. She doesn't actually know how poor people are and how poor people are.
Yeah. So what about in the title do you think made you lean towards this kind of satirical content?
Because Lazarus is a poor figure in the Bible, but lady suggests that her wealth or her social position.
Ah, so tension.
Yes.
Irony. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, we'll pick up from here next week. Thank you very much, guys.
two part.
So,
Can we send the title of the poem to the
Yeah, sure. But I don't want you to look up the real one.
Oh, I want to look at the real.
No, okay, I'm not gonna send it up.
Oh. Then comment I will not look at the real one.